everyone. Dr. Jessica here with Dream Secured Mentoring Network. I'm very, very excited to bring you this discussion that a lot of students have been wrestling with during this residency season, and that is professional rejection and how to deal with that. So I have some great friends with me who are professionals in understanding what professional rejection is, and we're going to give you guys some advice and tips and tricks on how to handle that. And so why don't we get started? So I'll go ahead and introduce my first guest. It is Dr. Sara Olson. Sara, how are you?
Good. I'm excited to talk to you guys today. So, as she said, my name is Sara, and I'm a PGY2 ambulatory care resident currently about halfway through the year. And fun fact about me, my favorite show, although it's cringy, it probably is The Bachelor. I just really like to watch I really like to watch the reality TV show. It's a good way to de-stress at the end of the day, especially when it's on Mondays. You can, calm down
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Okay, we won't judge you. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like someone else may have that one. But anywho, awesome. Well, thank you, Sara, for being here. Next, we have Dr. Aeman Chowdhury. Aeman, how are you?
Hi, I'm great for a Saturday. So, like she said, my name is Aeman, and I'm a clinical pharmacy specialist, and I'm the residency program coordinator at my institution for our ambulatory care residency. I've been doing this, I've been a pharmacist for quite some time. We won't talk about how long, but I've been the program director for about 3 years. And my favorite show that's currently on right now is This Is Us.
Oh, that's a tearjerker show. Good grief. That's a lot of emotions to go through. All right. Well, thank you, Aeman. And last but not least, we have Dr. Shaiza Khan. Dr. Khan or Shaiza, how are you?
Hi, Jessica. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I can't complain. So, give us your breakdown, who you are, all that good stuff.
So, I have been a clinical pharmacist almost for 14 years now. And I did a PGY1 residency way back in the day. And I have been the part of the residency program advisor committee for, I don't know, 7, 8 years now, for PGY1 program at my facility. And my favorite show, well, I was going to say This Is Us, but Eamon took that. I think it's a classic that's been running, I think, almost 18 or 19 years, Law and Order SVU.
Oh, my goodness.
A little murder mystery.
I wasn't expecting that. Well,
And,
awesome.
yeah, fun fact about Law and Order, Stabler is coming back within, I think, few episodes for those people that are fans.
Okay, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if we're giving out details, my favorite TV show is The Office and A Different World. That's 2 shows, but I guess kids would know about The Office, maybe not A Different World. All right. Well, guys, we really want you guys to know that we are just regular human beings out here. Although we all are clinical pharmacists, we've all experienced and been through the things that you have been through, especially in regards to pursuing residency, pursuing jobs, whatever the case may be. We've all been there. So we're really just here to give you guys our experiences and hope that it helps to either alleviate some fears that you may be having, or just sometimes, rejection can really be a hit to your ego and your confidence, and hoping that we're able to build you back up, because it's okay. We are all here in our careers and have experienced some type of rejection in one form or another. So what is professional rejection? Or how do you define rejection in a professional setting? So it looks like, Sara, you can start us off.
So, I define rejection in a professional setting as anytime you maybe don't get a position that you were hoping for or applying to. I try really hard to make sure that that's just in the professional setting and that you don't, knock yourself down in the personal setting, because those are 2 separate things. But I think it's something that we've all experienced at one point in our lives, no matter how successful we are. So I think it is really important that we're talking about it today.
Awesome. Aeman, Shaiza, what do you guys have?
So I agree with what Sarah said. And I think it can be more than just not getting a job, but it could be just something as like, you didn't get, published in a newsletter or something. You got kind of quote unquote rejected that way. Or even you wanted to be a chair of a committee and it was given off to somebody else. So something in your professional career that you were striving for that you didn't achieve at the time that you were expecting to achieve it.
Awesome. Those are great examples. Aeman, did you have anything to add to that?
I would have to agree with Shiza. I think at this point in our careers, it's more about like things that happen while you're working because we're already in a job and not looking for a job. So yeah, like Shiza said, it's more about day-to-day operations and who gets the next promotion or who's chairing something. Some people don't care at all, and then others do view that as professional rejection.
Awesome. And another form too is getting fired. If you were to get fired or let go from your position, or there was maybe you're doing some type of big project and it's a contract and you're expecting your contract to get renewed and it doesn't, those are all forms of professional rejection. But I think what Sarah said was really important is understanding that professional rejection and personal rejection are completely separate from each other. So not taking professional rejection personally is very, very important. So have you guys ever experienced professional rejection? Or have you ever been the person to have to reject someone else from a position? And I'll start like applying to pharmacy school. I was rejected. They were like, no, sis, you're not ready. And I'm really glad that I did not get into pharmacy school when I applied my sophomore year, because I wasn't ready. It definitely wasn't the time for me. And I'm not sure I would be where I am right now had I been accepted at that moment. And so, yeah, that's not always, it did not feel great, but I think when you allow it to motivate you, and we'll talk about that, it'll definitely propel you in your career. What about you guys?
So my PGY1 site had one ambulatory care PGY2 spot, and there were 3 PGY1s interested. All 3 of us were great applicants, and I didn't get it. And I don't know if we've said this already yet, but all 3 of these ladies are my preceptors currently at my PGY2. And if I wouldn't have been rejected for that PGY1 position and I would have gotten it, I wouldn't have had the chance to work with these ladies and really grow the way I have in my current position. So at the time, I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do with my future. But currently, I think, everything happened for a reason. And it's been great getting to know these ladies and being a PGY2 at my current facility as well.
Awesome. What about you guys, Aeman, Shaiza?
So
I can comment a little bit.
Go ahead, Aeman.
Go on, Shiza. You go. You.
Okay. So I wanted to kind of talk about giving out the rejection, because that's not a fun position either. It's, people might think, oh, it's easier to be on that side, but to some extent it's hard too, because how much time and effort students or applicants have put into their application and then the interview process, and just to go through all that, because we've all been in that position at one time in our lives. But I think it's also how well the rejection is delivered. So, if it's kind of just a I'm sorry email, like a very generic, you didn't get the job or you didn't get the residency, versus a little bit more personal, I think that makes a difference. I think if you kind of leave a little bit of a window open where the applicant or student can reach out and find out, get some feedback, what they could have done better, what was, missing from their application. And I've had several students do that in the past, and I don't ever take that as like, oh, I gotta like tell them what they did wrong, because usually it's things that can be easily mitigated, right? It's not like no one has anything glaring, but it's like little things, either like nonverbal things or maybe something they said inadvertently. So I think that's a big part of professional rejection as well, is how well it's delivered to the
That's a good point.
applicant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that really came up a lot with some of the students, and Amen, I'm going to come back to you, but some of the students that I've mentored who have received rejection emails for residency, their question is, do I reach out? Do I ask, why I was rejected or how can I improve? And, sometimes they get good information or sometimes they don't. It all is depends on the person and the site. But yeah, that's awesome. What were you
Yeah,
going
I
to
would say if they're questioning it, they should always reach out. And if they don't get a response, no, that's fine. But sometimes I had a colleague that would like take the time and re-review the whole application and like break down, this is where things could have been better, this is what you could have said differently. So there are people that are willing to take the time to give that much feedback.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Amen?
So as the two of you were talking, I thought about something that I almost wish some of these people would reach out, because they made the mistake of asking someone write a letter of recommendation for them that was not strong, that had something in there that made us be hesitant to, with their application. And then a very common problem that I see, even though I'm reviewing applications for PGY2 residents, is the CV, just the way it's written, or just how much is not in there, or when it's too much is in there. Those are some things that if people just have good guidance, that's easily improved on. We actually did not interview someone who had a 4.0 GPA because of what was probably just missing from his CV. Because otherwise he probably would have been a great candidate with that kind of GPA, but it just seemed like he wasn't well-rounded because of the way the CV was written. And we're looking for someone that's well-rounded. So it sounds horrible now that I say it out loud. He had a 4.0 GPA and we didn't interview him, but that's not all that we're looking for. And like someone like him, I wish had just reached out so we could tell him what it was.
I think too, I think that's another misconception that a lot of students have in regards to applying to residency or professional program, whatever the case may be. They feel as though if they don't have a perfect GPA, because places have GPA cutoffs for sure, but you may not be in that GPA cutoff, but your application may be phenomenal, and there may have been a circumstance that occurred while you were in pharmacy school or whatever, the medical school or undergrad, that impacted you with your grades, but we see there's a progression, it got better, or you're well-rounded. There's other things that we look for, and I think a lot of students solely focus on the grade. And so that's unfortunate. It's very important for students. Well, let's kind of go into that, how you can attempt to prevent the professional rejection when it comes to your application. So you mentioned that things were missing from the CV. It didn't seem like the student was very well-rounded. What advice would you give students or even professionals applying to new positions in regards to their CV or their application to ensure that they have the best opportunity moving forward?
Feedback. I mean, if you know someone that's in a position where they review applications that are similar, that would be great, because you know what that kind of person is looking for. This past year, I think I've had 3 students reach out to me to review their CVs prior to the application cycle. And, of course it takes a little bit of my time, but I'm willing to do that for them because it's interesting. I like them. I want them to succeed. And there were issues where someone didn't include that she had an undergraduate degree in something that was pertinent. So she just said she has a bachelor's, but didn't say in what.
Right.
Or another person didn't include a research project that they worked on in undergrad. And I was like, it doesn't matter if it's not related to pharmacy. It shows that you're able to write for a grant. It shows that you're able to work on a project like this. So if you have a preceptor, someone you know, someone you've worked with, that is an invaluable resource. And I'm proud of those students that reach out to me and say, hey, can you review my CV? So that's easy, something that they can get done.
Yeah, and even if you don't have the luxury of a friend or a preceptor, you can always pay someone. And and even most professional schools have some kind of, there you go, have some kind of mentorship program. Um, and so I guess, like, even I've had students reach out. I've also had like a friend of a friend of a friend be like, hey, can you look at this? And it's fine. And I would also say it's better to have more information and then let the person who's reviewing it weed out the stuff that's not pertinent. Like, I don't care about your volunteer work when you were in junior high and a professional, but like what you did last year, what you did during COVID, like that matters. So it's better to have more stuff in there. And then as you update your CV, I always like save as a new, like, current one. Don't update it and delete all the other stuff because you might have to reach back for something. Like, don't just copy, make a new document and save it as you update it.
That's great advice too. Yeah. Sara, did you have anything to add?
The one thing I wanted to add was going back to the letters of recommendation, because I've had classmates ask for letters of recommendations that maybe might not have been as positive. And so I always tell my students when they're asking to ask for a positive letter of recommendation. And I personally always did it after the final evaluation, if it was good. And then I would say, okay, would you be willing when the time comes to write me a positive letter of recommendation for, residency or for whatever career? And I think it's worked out well in my favor so far. So I would recommend that as well.
Yeah, you have to be very specific. I learned that very early on. Asking, will you be able to write a positive or a strong recommendation for me for this particular program? And so what do you do if someone says, I don't feel as though I can write a strong enough letter of recommendation for you?
You move on. You ask
Right.
someone else.
Right.
Because if someone feels that they need to tell you that I don't think I can write a positive letter, then they really don't feel that they can write you a positive letter. Because sometimes, someone will say, okay, fine, I can do it. But if they say no, don't push it, because you don't want a weak recommendation letter out there.
Mm-hmm. Would you recommend asking them why, or if they have any way that they can tell them how they can improve?
I think it depends on the relationship you have with the person that you're asking. If it was just your typical 6-week rotation and like a rotating preceptor, but this was the primary preceptor who didn't know you that well and they say no, then it's one thing. But if it's like your mentor after so many years saying no, then I would be like, well, what did I do? What went wrong?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, those letters of recommendation, even though the process is it's not actually a letter, but people can write about you. A lot of these application processes are a checkbox almost, and someone can leave a comment or not. But I would definitely encourage the person that you're asking, again, to ask for a strong letter, and then also include or detail why they agreed or what is it about you that makes you a strong candidate. But all right, we're kind of digressing backwards here. So digress backwards, same thing. All right. All right. So my next question is, all of us have been a professional for a certain period of time, and may or may not have been rejected or we've been the rejector. So has your perception of professional rejection changed as you matured in your career, or do you look at it differently? Like, how has that changed for you?
I think it's changed a little bit for those of us that have been in our careers for a while, now that we see how things work on the other side. So sometimes the rejection is due to internal reasons, like a job has to be posted, but an internal candidate will be most likely to receive that job or actually fill that job. And like, if you don't know those kinds of things and you're someone who's looking for a job at the time, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I just got rejected from like 5 places already. I'm never going to find a job. Well, maybe 4 of those places were taking somebody internal anyways, and you really didn't have that chance. And it's sometimes that's hard to ask the question, like, did you give it to someone internal? It's kind of, you don't have a person you can call and ask. It's usually someone in HR. But it's 99% of the time not personal. Like it's usually, either you didn't fit the job truly, or it was going to go to somebody else anyways. Like the job had to be open because it had to be open, but you didn't even, maybe they didn't even review your application, but told you don't get an interview.
Mm-hmm. Just based
that
on
depends.
Yeah, that's great information. People need to know, like, professional rejection, again, going back to what Sara said, is not personal. You don't know the mechanics of what's going on behind the scenes a lot of the times. And then that just comes back around to asking, is there a way for me to improve, or what is there that I can do better to be a better candidate next time, whatever the case may be. Sara, Shaiza, do you guys have anything?
Yeah, I agree with what Aeman said. There's a lot of internal politics at jobs, at hospitals, at whatever, any place you name it. There's always internal stuff that you can't account for. I think that's a good opportunity to like zoom out a little bit and see what you could do differently in the future, what you could amp up on your resume or CV. Even try to do some mock interviews. I know there's plenty of people. There you go. That you can pay, or even friends, just to listen in, even if they don't understand the language, like medical jargon. You can find practice questions online, and just how is my tone, how is my facial expressions, especially in the age of Zoom. It is about a lot of those non-verbal things versus like a full top to bottom person to assess. But yeah, I would definitely take that rejection opportunity to kind of figure out what can be done better or differently.
And has your perception of rejection changed as you have matured in your...
Yes,
okay,
for sure. I think as beginning of my career, I used to take it very personally. And then as I started getting more involved in the program, and then just learning the kind of the mechanics behind things, realizing that it's not about, it's not always about something necessarily that you did wrong at the interview, but there's lots of other things that come into play. But if it is a place like you're like, yes, this is exactly where I want to work, for whatever reason, keep applying. Like, they're just going to say no. What's the big deal?
Right. Oh, we're going to come back to that. Sara, did you have anything?
Yeah, just kind of bouncing off of that. I still am in the very beginning of my career, but recently I've been able to kind of help Aeman with that application process and like reviewing those applications. And it's definitely interesting to look at that when you've been on the other side of it so recently, and be able to say, they're a great candidate, but maybe this isn't the job for them. Mm-hmm. And so thinking about that when you face possible rejection in the future, and being like, I might have good attributes, but this might just not be the right fit for me. So it's not always, it's not always that you did poorly.
Right. I think a lot of times I'll tell students, one thing about when you're applying to a program specifically for residency, is you want to be the right fit for that program, and you want that program to be the right fit for you. So it's kind of girly, but like, if you see a phenomenal pair of shoes in the store or online now, but they don't have your size, you're not going to buy 2 sizes too small or 2 sizes too big, because it's not going to be a great fit. No matter how shiny or great it looks, it just might not be the right one for you. And that rejection will again propel you into the right direction for a program that best fit for you and you for them. So that's a really good point to have. Shaiza, you mentioned something, and I am not recalling what it was.
Good. It was profound then.
It was so profound. It's just escaping me. I'll think about it. I think we kind of touched on things of how to take advantage of professional rejection, like reaching out, taking the time to really see if you can have someone look over your CV to see if anything stands out. Even just doing the mock interviews if you can, looking at recording yourself on camera even, and saying, okay, I'm not even looking at the camera when I'm talking, or I'm rolling my eyes, which is something that I do personally, and that I have to work on. I'm still working. So I think that rejection really gives you the opportunity to hone in and really improve or refine yourself. Would you guys agree?
For sure.
Yes. And I also think it's an opportunity for you to think about, what is it that you really want? So is this the best place for you to be in? Is this the direction you want your career to go in? Because maybe you're like, I'm just doing it because all my friends are doing it. But really, my interest lies in industry. Okay. Maybe sit down and write down your short-term and long-term goals and actually go through that and be like, no, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I see myself doing. And then, continue to pursue it.
That's awesome. All right. I have another question. Aeman, you with us over there? Do you have anything you want to say? All right.
No, I mean, they're just stealing the words out of my mouth. So I'm just
They
trying
are.
to stay quiet.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure you're with us, girl. Okay. All right. So this is, I think we've answered this question, but I just want to get you all's viewpoint on, is there value in rejection?
Absolutely. Just like there's value in failing a test. If you ace everything and if everything in life goes great, then you won't appreciate it as much as when things are bad and then they become good. Definitely value in rejection.
Yeah, I agree.
The rejection doesn't feel good at all, I'm sure, especially when you're taking it personally, but there is value to your growth, like who you become and how you handle it and how you take it and how you go forward with it. And not getting hung up on like just the fact that you were rejected in that moment. I think maybe one of the things that Shaiza was saying earlier that you may have wanted to come back at was continuing to apply or continuing to go back to that. If you're really, really interested in working and say, I want to work at Pfizer, it's always been around here or whatever, then keep applying. I have a friend who it took almost 11 years out of school before she was able to secure her dream job in industry. It actually happens to be at Pfizer. So, she took the longest, hardest route there, but now she's there and, she couldn't be happier. And I'm so happy for her. And along the way, there was a lot of rejection for her, but she stood up and dusted off her shoulders and just went right back. And now she's doing great.
Awesome. That is just the picture of resilience and just thriving through professional rejection. You can't give up on your goal, but you do need to evaluate, do I really want this? Like Shaiza said it earlier, like really take a step back and say, these are the things I want out of my career. And if I stop now because someone told me no, will I be able to attain those things? Or do I really want this? Or did someone tell me I need to do it? So yeah, well, kudos to her. That's awesome. Yes, 11 years. Woo.
I would guess it's been 11 years. It's been a long time, more than 10 years, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say I have an example too of one of our colleagues actually who applied for our summer internship program, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I was one of the interviewers. We decided not to give him that position, and then he applied for our PGY1, and again didn't match with us. He went on to do 1 and 2 at another facility, and now he is back at our hospital, and he's actually thriving. And he's actually a director of one of the programs. And I don't know if this is part of your agenda for today, but kind of talking about the burning bridges aspect of.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I think that's another key thing, is that he was amicable and so kind every time we rejected him. And so now we have a great working relationship, and I'm so happy to be one of his colleagues.
Yeah. That burning bridges is very important. You don't want to send a all capital letter !! email, if you are rejected from a position, because you never know how your career might turn around and you'll be facing those same people again. That's very important, guys. Don't burn bridges.
Small world, such a small world.
Yeah, it's such a small world. They say there's 6 degrees of separation in the world. I think in pharmacy, it's more like 2. You just have to talk to someone for like 2 minutes, and I knew her. She went to school with so and so. I went to school. Oh, I did a residency there, and like before you know it, you could talk to a complete stranger at mid-year, and within minutes, you guys have something in common. So. So important to never burn a bridge, and never professionally make those bad decisions to say something or do something to someone that you will regret later in life. And you never know where, all people just in the pharmacy world seem to move around a lot too. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, now they live here, or now they're here. So very important.
Yes. Sarah, did you have anything to add to that part of the discussion, or previously on the value and rejection?
I mean, I've already said it, but I value my rejection highly, because I wouldn't know any of the people on the screen right now if I wouldn't have gotten it. So this brought me to where I am today. It definitely put me on a different path, but I think definitely the right career path. And so rejection isn't always bad, even if it feels gross and bad when it happens.
Yeah. I think too, speaking on that, is accept, feel your feels, guys. It is okay that your feelings are hurt. It's okay that it's a hit to your confidence or your ego, or, you question yourself for a moment, but have that moment and let's let it be a moment, and then move forward from there, because you don't want to wallow in the rejection, because again, professional rejection is usually never personal. It's not really saying anything about you and your abilities, but again, the shoe didn't fit, and that's it.
So very true.
Yeah, so okay, I know you guys it's your weekend, so I want to kind of wrap, but did you guys have any advice or words of wisdom that you would want to leave anyone watching with in regards to professional rejection?
I would say just don't, when you move on from that rejection, don't show up to the next place being like, well, I wasn't good enough for the other place. So I didn't show up to this residency program being like, well, I didn't get the one I initially wanted, because this one was, everything I could have dreamed of. And I think I do better in it, because I said, I'm still great. And I moved forward, and I didn't dwell on it. It definitely was hard in the moment, but I wasn't like, I'll always be, second best, or.
Yeah. I mean, when you dwell on that rejection, it blinds you from any opportunities that are out there. So you don't want to have straight tunnel vision because you're focusing on this one no. Just a no is a no. That's it. Awesome. All right, Aeman.
Unless it's not a no, because sometimes there's a scramble, and then there's a first phase and second phase.
That's right. Yes, it is not a forever no. It is just an opportunity to continue. Especially
I could not agree more about the whole phase 1 versus phase 2. A couple of years ago, or last year, we went to phase 2. And as an RPD, so that was my professional rejection. I was like, wait, we're so great. And our program is so great. And, we had such great interviews. And like, why did these people not want to come to our facility? And like, how could they? And how much work is this going to be for me? And we ended up going through phase 2 and matched probably one of the best residents that has walked through our facility.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea how she didn't match. She's phenomenal, and she's going to be great. She's going to do great things in this world. And yes, it was a little bit of work for me, and long days and stress. But in the end, having her at our facility was just so wonderful. So for those people that might be listening that are going through the match, and if that horrible email comes through and says you have not matched, phase 2 is a real thing, and it can end up in some amazing things happening. So, and then I believe there's still a scramble.
Yep.
Even after phase 2. So if that's your dream to be a resident and it doesn't work out phase 1, like it's almost like it's nothing like it used to be, where it was like if you didn't match in phase 1, it's the end of the world. It's like phase 1, phase 2, and scramble. So don't give up. Just keep going for it.
Right. Because like you're saying, we want residents. People want to fill those positions. And so if it is not looking great coming phase 1 here, go ahead and apply for, make sure you have your letters of recommendation ready to go for phase 2, because you're going to be reapplying. Look into the programs that you may be interested in, and just to be able to be prepared if they are in phase 2. And then ask those questions for the notes that you received on how you can improve. And then you'll better set yourself up in the long run to potentially not have that rejection, but to match with the right program, like Sara and Aeman were saying. Shaiza, did you give your advice?
I'm just going to leave you with Drake's song.
Okay, let's go. Come on, Drake.
No, I'm not singing it. Oh. It's God's plan.
Yes.
If one door closes, maybe you need to sneak in the window, open the back door. Yeah. I don't know. So do your best. Always put your best foot forward, but don't take it as it's not the end of the world.
It's not, guys.
Lots of opportunities. Yeah.
Oh, God's plan. Perfect. It is because your route's already predetermined pretty much. So, you're going to be led into the right direction, and that you can have faith in that for sure. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for participating in this discussion. We wish everyone the best of luck in regards to their professional pursuits. If you guys have any questions, or you want to do a mock interview, or have someone look over your CV, you can always email us at secured.dream@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at Dream Secured Mentoring. You can definitely DM us there if you have any questions, or if you would like to get into contact with anyone that's on the panel today. Please reach out. I'm sure they would all be so excited to talk to you. Rejection is fine. You're going to flourish regardless. So this has been an episode discussing professional rejection. We had Dr. Olson, Sara, Dr. Chowdhury, Aeman, and Dr. Khan, Shaiza. I am Dr. Jessica, and primary mentor and founder for Dream Secured Mentoring Network. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.